Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Tonight, we have the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance from Reynolds High School. These cadets are instructed by Lieutenant Colonel David Wise, United States Army retired, and Sergeant First Class Jamie M. Brown, United States Army retired. Would you please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask that you remain standing tonight, and as you focus your thoughts, remember the people that are suffering in our world. This evening, we want to take a moment to acknowledge a deep loss in our community. As many of you know, Inca District Representative Max Queen passed away last week. Thoughts and prayers are with his family, his Buncombe County School family, his AB Tech family, as we all grieve his passing. We do want to let everyone know that we are planning a tribute to Mr. Queen at a later board meeting. Thank you. You may be seated. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, superintendent's comment, right? Okay, Dr. Baldwin, it's your turn.
I'm going in a bit of a reverse order. I usually keep my calendar reminders until later, but I want to open up to remind everyone spring break week starts next Monday.
Where's the applause? My gosh.
Well, I was going to recognize the smiles on our teachers, and I think the principals have bigger smiles than our teachers, or maybe it's a toss-up. That begins next Monday, the 11th, and it'll run through Friday, the 15th. And educators, staff, well-deserved break ahead. Top Scholars Banquet, which is one of the highlights for the year. It is back in person, and it'll take place on April the 19th at the Crown Plaza. That'll begin at 5:30, so board members make sure that's on your calendar. And then our middle school, high school band concert, again in person, April 26th at North Buncombe High School, starting at 6:30 p.m. So we hope you can come out for that arts event. It's always very special. Note that we will be holding our annual capital outlay and operating budget work session. That'll take place on the afternoon of the May monthly board meeting. That is Thursday, May the 5th. And during the afternoon presentations, we will be focusing on the recommended budgets for 2022-2023. And we will be actually hearing from the HIL consultants. You may recall, board, that these are the financial experts that we have contracted with independently to conduct a salary study regarding our classified employees, and I think they're going to be bringing back some very important and some eye-opening data and information for us, which I'm sure we will then want to make sure we share with our budget preparers and budget negotiators and decision makers in the near future. I want to congratulate ST's Elementary School for recently receiving recognition as a Leader in Me Lighthouse School. This recognition is a very highly distinguished honor. There are only 600 of these schools, and this is worldwide. The Leader in Me program is across the entire world. And the curriculum, as you may recall, board, we've heard a lot about. It's built around the 7 habits of highly effective people that was authored by Stephen Covey. Every student is taught leadership skills to create a culture of student empowerment and enhanced academic achievement. So very proud of ST's Elementary School. And in closing, later in the agenda, we will be publicly recognizing our 45 Teachers of the Year for the 2022-23 school year. And from those honorees, we will also be naming each of the 7 individual districts' Teacher of the Year. And from my role as superintendent, I want to extend not only my congratulations, but sincere appreciation for the dedicated service that each and every one of these educational leaders provide to our students and our community. And last but not least, Stacia reminded me we want to extend our appreciation to Life Touch. They've been a long, long time supporter and sponsor for us, and I think they provided photographs of our Teachers of the Year, and along with some administrators that snuck in the room, right, for free pictures. Yes. Top scholars. Awesome, and top scholars. So that concludes my comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I believe it's time for good news.
It is. We've got some good news to share, everyone. So good afternoon, good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Baldwin, members of the board. So this evening for our good news segment, it's been a couple years since we've been able to do this live, so we're really excited to have you guys here with us in person. Tonight, we're going to recognize our 45 Teachers of the Year, as well as do our surprise announcement of our 7 district winners. So without further ado, Bill Honey, he is our 2022 Teacher of the Year, and Ms. Suzanne Swanger, our Associate Superintendent, could take the podium. They're going to kick off our recognition.
To Buncombe County Schools Teacher of the Year program. The goal of Buncombe County Schools Teacher of the Year is to recognize the teachers that are before us for their dedication. What makes BCS unique and sets us apart from others is that the teachers had the entire process from start to finish. This is an exciting honor to recognize the great qualities of all of these teachers, what they possess: leadership, skilled communicators, collaboration, empathy, adaptability, as well as engaging classrooms, the use of best practices, social and emotional learning, and above all, dedication and commitment to our BCS students and families. Without further ado, let me introduce Associate Superintendent Suzanne Swanger.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening. This is the highlight of this board meeting. Sorry. This is the good stuff. These are the great ones before us. So we're here to celebrate you this evening, and we do offer our sincerest appreciation for the work you do each and every day. To be recognized by your peers is so meaningful. So we hope you enjoy this evening, and I understand there are lots and lots of cupcakes left, so have a cupcake afterwards. Before we get started, I would like to recognize the work of the Teacher of the Year Selection Committee. They spend long, long hours meeting, discussing, making sure protocols are in place, making sure it's a fair process. They read, they interview, they visit, they watch videos. So if any of Teacher of the Year committee members are here, raise your hand. I see one over there. Is that Kim? Thank you. We appreciate all the work that our committee has done. Okay. When Mr. Honey recognizes you, come down, and I have a certificate, and then if you would go to the middle of the floor for pictures, we'll get started.
All Representing the Robertson District, Miss Amy Churchill.
Thought y'all were making me an honorary teacher for a second.
All right. And now representing for the teachers, Joshua Lowe. Lee Hargis from Valley Springs Middle School. Abby Paget, Kuntz Intermediate School. Garhana, Avery's Creek Elementary School. School, not here. Melissa Norris, Estes Elementary School.
Hello, everyone. If we could have individual photos of our Teacher of the Year, Dr. Baldwin, and your board representative, and then we'll do our group photo at the end. So if you're just one Teacher of the Year, let's start with one of you. Josh, you can be first. Okay, now we'll take a group photo, and then you can take your seats. So come on back, everybody.
Next will be the Reynolds District, and their representative, Miss Cindy McMahon. Mark Harris, Reynolds High School. Jillian Tart Snyder, Reynolds Middle School. Cane Creek Middle School. Tennille Pickett, Bell Elementary School. Here. Whitney Burleson, Fairview Elementary School. Okay.
All right, it's photo time, everyone. Y'all know what to do? No, don't leave. Don't leave, just one teacher at a time. If we have the teacher, Mr. Harris, if we could have you stand on the X. Oh, okay. I'm going to set up the next district instructions. I know. Okay. All right, everyone, I'm sorry, I'm just temporarily taking over. It's time for the Owen District. Dr. Baldwin, come on back to the front. Ms. Buchanan, come on up. So I want you, if Dr. Baldwin and the board representative could stand on either side of the X. When we call your name, Owen District, I want y'all to stand in the middle. We're going to take an individual photo, then we'll take the group photo. Thank you.
The Owen District, Taylor Marie Taylor, Owen High School. Kelsey Triplett, Owens Middle School. Stencha. Allison Kroom, Black Mountain Elementary School. Abstention. Brittany Hancock, Williams Elementary School. Jennifer Lawson, Black Mountain Primary.
Photo time. Come on back, y'all. He is here. Okay. So mark him off. He just showed up. Oh, no, I meant to say he's been here to show up.
Next is at large, Representative Miss Amanda Simpkins. Calvin Cross Community High School. James Violet, Early College. David Kaler, Nesbitt Discovery Academy. Carol Ray, Progressive Ed Program. And Kelly Munheck, Virtual Academy. Miss Ann Franklin. Jenny Nezerman, North Buncombe High School. Michelle Hammond, North Buncombe Middle School. Erica Boyd, North Windy Ridge Intermediate. Whitney Hamlin, Barnard's Elementary School. Sandra Ferrero, North Buncombe Elementary School. Karen Hamilton, Weaverville Elementary School. Weaverville Primary School.
Sororities.
All right. Next is the Irwin District. Representative, Mr. Pat Bryant. Amber Kendall, Irwin High School, Extension. James Holt, Irwin Middle School. Lori Ann Eblin, Intermediate School. Nicole Rivas, Emma Elementary School. Kelly Wilson, Johnson Elementary School, Abstentia. Karen Levy, Leicester Elementary School. Ashley Sales, West Buncombe Elementary School. Woodfin Elementary School. Anka District will be next. And representing Anka School District will be Miss Amanda Simpkins. Donald Witzel, Anka High School, Abstentia. Chelsea Meyer, Anka Middle School. Lakeisha Lee, Anka Intermediate School. Gabrielle Godfrey, Candler Elementary School. Julie Rowe, Hominy Valley Elementary School. Melly Davis, Pisgah Elementary School. Katie Speak, Sandhill Venable Elementary School. Okay. So when your name is called, we're going to ask you to come up front, but stay up front here. Because, oh, yeah. Now, this is a moment we've all been waiting for. We're going to announce the 7 district finalists. Ms. Swanger, will you please draw the first name? Ooh, dun, dun, dun. Representing the Irwin District, we have Karen Levy. Leicester Elementary School, Leicester. I'm gonna get it one of these years. Representing North Buncombe. Representing North Buncombe, Jenny Zimmerman, North Buncombe High School.
Go Zimmerman. I'm talking to Jenny.
The Owen District, we have.
Our Owen representative, Taylor Marie Taylor, Owen High School.
The Inca District.
Representing the Inca District, Catherine Speak, Sand Hill Venable Elementary School.
Next is Robertson.
Representing Robertson District, Josh Lowe, T.C. Robertson High School.
The At-Large District.
At-Large District, Representative James Violette, BC Early College.
And from the Reynolds District.
Representing the Reynolds District, we have Whitley Burleson, Fairview Elementary School. Okay.
Just a little. Your head's getting cut off. I was from 6'5". And I'm 5'2". I bet.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And if you could, these teachers, every one of them, fantastic. If you would give them a round of applause, because that's why we're here. The year program. We have some more instructions, though.
Congratulations, everyone. So we're going to take a quick break so that you guys can leave. We want to take some more pictures outside. So you're going to follow Han and Brianna, and we're going to do a group shot of our district winners, group shot of everyone. Principals, if you want a photo with your teacher, go ahead, follow them out, and we'll just do full-on photo shoot outside. Before we go outside for the photos, please swing by the Nesbitt cafeteria to pick up a cupcake to go. And that's it. Thanks, guys.
Cutting the feed just a few minutes while they do that.
Recess, like a 5-minute recess? That's what I think.
It's your choice, yeah, if you want like an individual photo with your person.
When he counts, we're in trouble. That's right. Yes. Thank you for joining us. We've finished a break, and our next item on the agenda is the curriculum feature with Ms. Swanger, Ms. Reed, and Ms. Davidson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. Good evening, Dr. Baldwin. We are in a literacy effort across Buncombe County schools, but more importantly, a focus on literacy across the state of North Carolina. In Buncombe County schools K-12, or really K-13, we all want to grow in our readers and our comprehenders and our thinkers. But tonight we're going to talk specifically about an implementation of letters curriculum resources training for K through 5. And this is a specific initiative that is going around North Carolina, and we have two literacy experts to share with you tonight as to what we've done and what we're getting ready to do. So Jennifer Reed is our Director of Elementary and Intermediate Schools, and Kristen Davidson is our lead literacy coach. So ladies, if you will come down and share with the board what letters is.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Baldwin, and members of the board. Kristen Davidson, our lead literacy coach for K through 6, and I are here to try to explain a little bit more to you this evening about LETRS training. LETRS actually stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. It is an intensive training that actually lasts 2 full years for our K through 5 educators. Just to give you a little bit of context, this training is one component of a very comprehensive piece of legislation known as Senate Bill 387. You might know that also as the Excellent Public Schools Act, and you may even better know it as the Read to Achieve Law. The original Read to Achieve Law actually was ratified in 2012, but because it didn't necessarily produce the strong reading outcomes that our legislators had hoped, they revamped the law. And so Senate Bill 387 was ratified actually about a year ago in spring of 2021. And one component is this intensive LETRS training for our K through 5 educators. Before I flip to the next slide, because what you'll hear is Catherine Truitt, our state superintendent, telling you a little bit more about LETRS training and why it's so important to the state. LETRS training is an essential component of our state strategic plan. You may have heard of it referenced to as Operation Polaris. So take just a couple minutes to listen to our state superintendent.
My name is Catherine Truitt, and I serve as superintendent for the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. Early literacy is something I am truly passionate about. As educators, we know firsthand how vital the first few years of a child's education are, and that learning to read across content is essential for academic progress. Yet too many of our children enter high school unable to read proficiently, thereby jeopardizing their chances of post-secondary success. When I first stepped into the role of superintendent, I shared that changing the status quo in order to improve reading outcomes for students in our state would require systemic change. Truly improving outcomes requires a shift in mindset as well as practice. LETRS has demonstrated its effectiveness as a statewide training model for literacy improvement, and I am thrilled to see this become the new model here in North Carolina. We know that LETRS is effective because of the science and evidence-based research behind it. It is through the LETRS approach that students will begin to fully grasp the concept of literacy, and that's because rather than training teachers on yet another program, it focuses on educating and equipping educators. Through content, online modules, practice activities, and coaching, LETRS explicitly shows teachers how to connect research to practice as it relates to everyday classroom experiences. LETRS not only informs educators on what students must be taught in order to read, but how they should be taught. This approach immerses students in literacy and allows them to take their lessons outside of the classroom. LETRS creates a shared language and common understanding around practices so all teachers can help students read proficiently. We chose LETRS because it's a program that cares about preparing our students and our teachers. We know that when students learn to read, they are better prepared to lead and to succeed. Strong and confident readers create resilient leaders with bright futures. The future of education in North Carolina is brighter because of this new journey, and we look forward to the work ahead.
As Superintendent Truitt says, literacy opens up gateways to the future for all of our students. We talk a lot about equity, and research-based literacy instruction truly is an act of equity. It's a way that we actually, as teachers collectively, can meet the needs of every single student that enters the doors of Buncombe County Schools. And the beauty of this initiative is that it's perfectly aligned with our literacy initiative in Buncombe County Schools, which is not just about kindergarten through 3rd grade students. It's about K through 12 students. And this is our literacy vision as a district, that every Buncombe County school student will become a seeker of knowledge who engages in critical thinking by reading complex text and deepening learning through writing, speaking, and listening. Those are high-level skills, and we know just how important a strong K through 3 foundation is in order to get all of our students to that point before and certainly by the time that they graduate from our schools. Kristen Davidson is going to tell you a little bit more about the details of the LETRS training.
All right, so you just heard a little bit of the why and the background behind LETRS, and I'm going to talk to you about exactly what LETRS is and how it impacts our teachers. So like Ms. Reed said, Letters is a 2-year intensive professional development series that also has an application piece for our teachers. What's important to note is that it is not a curriculum. We already have a really strong curriculum in place for English language arts in our K-5 classrooms, some of which was actually funded by our federal relief funds. So each year, our teachers are going to participate in 4 6-hour training sessions, and then after each session, they're going to have some homework and a bridge to practice piece, and upon the completion of each one of those sessions, they're going to be awarded CEUs to go towards renewing their license. And then finally, you'll see on here that due to the time commitment of Letters and all that it will entail, this will be our primary focus for our elementary and intermediate schools over the course of the next 2 years. So who attends Letters training? We have 3 different groups, which you can see here on the slide. We have Letters for pre-K, we have Letters 3rd edition for our teachers, and then we also have Letters for administrators. According to Senate Bill 387, we have some state-funded teachers, which you can see under Letters 3rd edition and then under Letters for administration. And because we as Buncombe County Schools know the power behind this professional development series, and because we want all staff members who work with our K-5 students, we are using some federal funds to fill in the gaps for the educators that were not included in that initial legislation. And you can see those listed under district-funded personnel there. And then I also want to share with you that in addition to what you see here, we have a group of 10 district-level coaches, which include myself, as well as 5 district administrators, which include Ms. Reed, that are attending Letters 3rd edition and Letters for administrators right now. And our goal with that is to ensure that we have a strong support system in place for our educators as they begin the training next year.
Our Letters journey actually began a year ago with the Senate bill that was ratified, and the Department of Public Instruction asked us to decide as a district which cohort we wanted to be in. There was Cohort 1, which actually started this training back in August of 2021. Cohort 2 started this past January, and Cohort 3, and I suppose you can guess we're part of Cohort 3, and we did strategically choose to be part of that cohort, not because we didn't think the science of reading was important. We actually had already laid a very strong foundations in Buncombe County Schools. We had begun the science of reading training with our teachers in August of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. So our teachers were well aware of the shifted mindset from how we teach our students to read through balanced literacy to this new way of thinking, this very research-based way of thinking about teaching reading. We knew that we needed to get strong curriculum materials in place this past year, so we've spent the year really solidifying teachers' knowledge of the science of reading and how that connects to these new curriculum materials. So we're excited about how strong our teachers are going to enter this more intense training. In January, just this past January, we pulled together a steering committee made up of teachers, district administrators, instructional coaches, and school-based administrators to help us think through the scheduling of this training, because that really is the bear of this. And our steering committee let us know, number one, that they prefer to have this training during typical work hours as much as possible. We took that information back to our district calendar committee led by Ms. Swanger, and we were able to infuse some early dismissal days and some designated work days throughout the school year in the calendar that is now board adopted. And on March 7th, Kristen and I met with our Letters scheduling committee with the company, and the stars aligned that day because we were actually able to schedule all of our trainings on either early dismissal days or designated teacher work days for this coming school year. So we're very pleased at that outcome. We took that proposal back to our steering committee, and they were in full support, and honestly, they were very appreciative that we were able to fit that in. They gave us some great suggestions going forward about how to communicate with our teachers and how to support our teachers through the training, and we'll continue to pull that steering committee back together throughout the duration of the initiative. And that brings us to April. We plan very soon to release a Google site to our teachers that will be kind of a one-stop shop for all things Letters as far as the scheduling, the implementation, some videos just explaining what Letters is, and we'll continually add resources to the Google site over the next 2 years. And that leads us to this summer, which is actually when our implementation begins. This is just a little bit more detailed information. If you look at the top row for year 1, you will see all 4 required trainings for this coming school year. Training 1 actually is happening over the summer, and teachers will receive a stipend for their attendance, and it is a 6-hour virtual training. Training 3 is also a full-day training, and it takes place on a designated teacher workday in our calendar. Training 2 and 4 are actually broken up into 2 3-hour sessions, and those will take place on early dismissal days throughout the school year. The great thing is all 4 trainings are finished before spring break next year, which is about this time next year we'll be finished with the trainings. As Ms. Davidson said, between those sessions, teachers will have homework to complete. They'll have bridge to practice activities where they apply their learning with their students. And we've tried to come up with some ways to be able to help them find time during the school day to make those things happen. We've asked our administrators to be creative with their scheduling and pulling together some extended professional learning community times throughout the school day. And we also plan to offer substitute coverage for our teachers between units so they have at least some time throughout each week to complete that homework. And at the bottom, you'll see too, I don't want to leave administrators out of this, their course is a 1-year course as opposed to 2 years. And within that 1 year, they'll complete 2 full days of training. It is much more condensed information. I've already finished that first day, and boy, it was a lot to absorb. But I'm doing my homework on a weekly basis and trying to stay up with that just to continue my learning between those 2 sessions. So the great thing is our administrators will be learning right alongside our teachers, and that just makes the learning from this more impactful for our students. And one other thing I wanted to point out, the state of North Carolina is requiring teachers to complete the training. They're not necessarily requiring a certain level of mastery, but we know that there is a mastery level completion, which is teachers scoring 80% on each unit assessment. And we want our teachers to be mastery level teachers, so we are working with our steering committee to come up with some creative ways to recognize mastery level completion for our teachers. And we know we have the best teachers in the state, so we're going to have a lot of master teachers. All right, that was a lot of information, and we are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Board?
Okay. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is public comment, and I will ask Mr. Shatley to give us some comments.
Good evening, everyone. Before we turn to public comment, I want to address the vacancy left on the board by the passing of Mr. Queen. The board will be accepting letters of interest from any Inca District residents who would like to temporarily represent that district for the remainder of Mr. Queen's term, which would end in December. The board is required to fill the seat and does seek your letters of interest. You may email your letters of interest to communications@bcsemail.org. Again, that is communications@bcsemail.org. This information will also be linked on tonight's board briefing and will be on the board or on the school district's website starting tomorrow. The board will select a temporary representative at a later meeting. Now on to public comment. As a reminder, speakers will be called in the order in which they signed up. All speakers will have precisely 3 minutes to speak and must adhere to the guidelines set forth in BCS Policy 2310, Public Participation. Please refrain from profane language, making threats, or revealing confidential student or staff information. Please address the board as a whole, and please note that the board will not be able to respond directly to public comment. There is a light. Is the light over there?
It's a timer, yes.
Yep, the timer is over there, and it will tell you when your 3 minutes is up, and a yellow light will go off about 30 seconds before.
Madam Chair, we have 2 public comments tonight. The first is Amanda Lawson. And I will give you a signal with my hand at 1 minute and then 30 seconds.
Good evening tonight. My children are a part of the Irwin District, and throughout the last 5 years, there has been an increase in number of bullying going on within the high school, the middle schools, even down to the elementary school. And it really seems like at the middle school level, the lack of discipline, the lack of actually adhering to the accordance that's in the Buncombe County Schools guideline for discipline is really lacking. And that needs to take like precedence, because there's children threatening to shoot other children at school. There's children that are afraid to go to school. There's children that are afraid to use the restroom at school. And it's ludicrous. And I've read the policy severely, and I've highlighted stuff. And throughout like dealing with the middle school principal and the high school principal, they have not really been addressing the issues when we bring them to their attention. And it's just not me, it's other parents, it's other community members I have spoken to. And you know, there's kids that are afraid to go to school. My daughter was willing to lose band to go to early college to get away from the people that were bullying her, because her grades are good enough. She was willing to give up something she loved to get peace of mind, to go get the education she deserves. Because while they're focusing on trying to learn, they're also focusing on watching their back. Because the lack of rules being followed, and when they bring like situations to teachers, some teachers dismiss it at that level. They don't like take it further. They don't investigate it. My son was punched in the face by a female. His teacher said, "Oh, you're a man," and let it go until he went to the next class. And then she sent my son to the office, and then it was properly handled from there. And it's not just like students targeting students, are targeting teachers as well. My son said in one of his classes that students have thrown books and chairs at teachers. We cannot let this go on, and for the safety of everybody involved.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Bobby Lawson. And again, I'll give you a hand signal at 1 minute and another at 30 seconds.
Thank you, Superintendent and Madam Chair and the members of the board. I'm also here about the bullying in our schools. As elected representatives, it's y'all's responsibility to make sure that this does not happen in our schools. There's been several incidences of things that have happened in our schools. Kids are getting bullied. Kids are getting harassed. They are afraid to go to school. They are afraid to tell anybody because they're scared of the repercussions that it will get worse, as other students are afraid to come forward for other students because they're scared that it's going to happen to them as well. I think that there needs to be more implementation of the rules in the schools, where there's stricter policies against bullying and harassment in our schools, because it's getting out of hand. And when they're afraid to do anything from the other students because they're scared of the students' repercussions, this didn't happen when I was growing up. When you got out of line, you harassed someone, you bullied somebody, it was taken care of immediately and you were suspended. Instead of this, where they're going to the schools and they're sitting down with the counselors and stuff like that, and they're basically telling them just get along so they don't hurt no one's feelings, but suspend them, or someone don't play a race or gender or religious card. So I think that they need to have stricter rules and stricter punishments for these type of occasions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lawson, did you tell me what district you're from?
Irwin District.
Or the Irwin District. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes public comment, Madam Chair.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move to the action agenda. First item in the action agenda is the budget amendment number 5 with Ms. Thorpe. Are there questions from the board? Ms. McMahon?
Yes, I have a couple of little questions just kind of for my own education, please. On the state public school fund, we have a decrease of $53,000 in classroom teachers, and the description says there's an adjustment for NC Virtual Public Schools Sure Up in classroom teachers. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what that means?
Yes. So every year, based on the number of students that are signed up for virtual public school, every LEA, there is an adjustment made about this time of year to true up the reduction for how many are attending that takes away from our classroom teacher allotment.
So it's just based on the enrollment in the virtual academy. Okay. And then the other question I have maybe for Mr. Huff. We had talked a while back about the FUSA security contract with Buncombe County, and now I'm seeing that it's showing up as a budget amendment, and so I'm just wondering where we are with that. Are we definitely, so I'm assuming that we are moving forward with that agreement with the Sheriff's Department, and just sort of what does that look like? So maybe there's more description from Mr. Huff about.
I can give you a little bit, and then
Okay.
Mr. Huff can follow up.
Okay.
So Robert Frisbee has been involved since the transition to interim, and he's been working directly, and we've been testing it, and we're to the implementation process, and we do have a MOU and contract in place. So you are seeing the charges for that, the expenditures, and we are almost ready to go completely live with it.
So I'm just curious about when we'll go completely live, and what will that look like?
I want to give you military terms with that. Crawl, walk, run. The crawl phase will basically be Robert Frisbee working with the staff, my auxiliary team. That will be just we're just talking about the 6, 7 of us, just to make sure that it does flow well. As far as that messaging system, the cameras, as far as this system, has worked very well, and I think our principals absolutely love it. That was not the primary reason for getting it. It's a great secondary reason, but we want that crisis part working well. So Robert Frisbee is working very closely with a gentleman that is designated for the Sheriff's Department, and they're getting that down. Don't have an actual date just yet. I think it'll be soon. If he's in the room, I'll ask him to give me a date if he's already got that. Once we do that, we're going to do it more with the, we're going to use the walk phase, we're going to use Nesbitt staff, because that's a little bit bigger. And then as soon as we got that, that's a good 2-phase trial, and if it works great, then we're going to open it up to more of a district-wide staff.
I'd love to get some updates as that goes along to see how it's coming along as it's being implemented.
I'll keep you updated.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve Budget Amendment Number 5.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item on the agenda is Owen High School Use of Capital Outlay Athletic Allotment. This is Ms. Sharp. Questions for Ms. Sharp from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, Robertson High School Use of Capital Outlay Athletic Alignment. This is also Ms. Sharp. We just want to make sure you're awake tonight. And that, are there questions for Ms. Sharp on the Robertson High School issue?
Madam Chair, I have one question because it's
Okay, come on down.
I don't recall us ever having a partnership like this with CTE and Robertson High School for this purchase of equipment that can be used in 2 different areas. Have we had that before? And if not, I think it might be worth our time to let folks know that this is something that has been done, because I could see this being something that this equipment could be shared at every high school and stretch dollars further, with CTE partnering with them to purchase this equipment to be used in 2 different ways. So can you expand on that a little bit? Have we done this before? You're aware of it or not?
In looking at past purchases, no, I have not seen where this has been done in the past. It's something, like you just said, that CTE and the athletics department at TC Robertson, due to funding, thought that this would be an appropriate purchase to make they can't do it independently. So pooling the money together to do this and sharing the responsibility of the upkeep of the tractor was the best benefit. But no, I don't know of any.
I just think it would be worthwhile, I don't know where it should come from, but to be shared that here's an example of something, and there may be some things none of us have thought of yet that could continue some partnerships and stretch some dollars.
There is one additional high school looking at purchasing a tractor. This is CT's second purchase this year for tractors, and there's a third one potentially, so probably reach out to Inca High School and let them know because they are looking at the same.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Well, I did want to follow up on that. So just to be clear, when, like in this proposal, like it says the CTE department, but is it meaning just the CTE department at T.C. Robertson High School?
So, yes, the CTE department has allocations for each of their high school programs.
Okay.
So they're taking their Robertson High School allocation and putting those funds with Robertson's athletic money. So it's CTE money, and Robertson athletic money.
I just want to make sure it wasn't CTE for the whole district.
No.
Okay.
Good question. All right, any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, sole source vendor approval, procurement request, Common Lit, and that would be Ms. Robinson, Suzanne Swanger, and Lisa who? Lisa Sharp. Oh, your name appears several times on this agenda. So do we have questions for these learned people about sole source vendor approval procurement request? Well, the title was long enough, wasn't it? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now it's the time for consideration for Buncombe County Schools Return to Learn plans, and that would be Dr. Baldwin.
Well, here we are again. Talk about one subject. You've seen this slide for the past probably 14 months, and it's just a reminder of the obligation that still remains in place by state law for us to consider the mask option for our schools, and that requires a vote from this board each and every month. That law still stays in place. My slide presentation to you is going to look different. And you might recall for a number of months, you saw the 4 key slides that came from North Carolina DHHS that fit perfectly the direction we were going in terms of making this decision. And for several reasons, primarily because, again, the close contact tracing piece has completely been eliminated from the standpoint of our decision making because the data, it no longer fits that. But the emphasis now across the state and really across the country as far as the CDC is on health system capacity. And again, we have to remind ourselves that COVID has not gone away. It continues. We continue to hear various warnings about different versions of COVID. However, the focus now has shifted to health system capacity. So And for both of these slides, they represent state data. This is not local to Buncombe County, this is state data. And the first is the indication of hospital admissions per week for COVID-19 patients. And again, we're seeing that pattern trend move. I think 2 meetings ago I said, you know, the good thing is we're seeing these patterns move in the right direction, what we were hoping for. They continue to move in that direction. For the state, for the particular week that ended on April, let's see, I don't have my date on, yeah, I do, sorry. Well, maybe I don't, actual date of the week. 319 for our most recent week that's represented up here, 319 patients across the state with COVID-19 patients. And then again, a slide that's similar to what we presented before, the emergency room visits for COVID-like symptoms. And again, we've seen 2 weeks in a row, most recent weeks, that percentage is at 2%. So again, the trend, if you look at the overall pattern, and that represents several months previously, you can see the trend and the pattern moving, continuing to move where we would like for them to move, which is in a southward direction. The next slide is a duplicate slide from the previous month. And again, the focus is on the capability of our health support systems, hospitalization trends among adults and children. The first slide that you see to the left, again, this is a statewide, but we were able to pull from this the actual Buncombe County number. And you can see that, again, comparing previous weeks, the most recent, the trend has moved to, for 17 and under, 1 individual newly admitted. For Buncombe County, 17 and under, 0 newly admitted for COVID-19 confirmed cases. Again, this is good to see for us from the standpoint of our students in our schools. The right-hand piece of data that you're looking at, again, sort of earmarks on March 28th, the number statewide of patients that were COVID-19 confirmed newly admitted that day, 42 patients. But again, as we look at the bar graph, we'll see that the highest percentage among those 42 were in the age group 60 to 69. The second highest, 70 to 79. But from our standpoint, the concern would be looking at our students, 17 and under, 2%, 18 to 19 might fit with some of our seniors, again, 2%. So again, seeing from that bar graph in particular, again, numbers that I think are positive from the standpoint of operating our schools in person. This next slide is a repeat slide from the last month. And again, this is the new direction that we are seeing in terms of our state DHHS moving toward giving us guidance in terms of operating our schools. And again, a heavy emphasis on the hospital admissions, a heavy emphasis on the availabilities of inpatient beds in use for COVID cases. And again, just a reminder, and I appreciate Kim adding this to the slide, a reminder that what has really changed is there has been discontinued posting of the positivity rates. If you recall, when we first looked at our matrix and what we set up for our standard, it was heavily emphasizing the positivity rate. That no longer, and we talked last month about some of the reasons behind discontinuing that. One, for example, is the number of the high availability of in-home testing. So again, these numbers that we were seeing in the positivity rate most recently are hard to determine the accuracy of those, since some may be reported, some may not. But when we look again at this particular matrix that's been provided to us, if you look at Buncombe County, which again Kim was able to pull, the COVID cases per 100,000, 46.71. And if you look on the new cases, if you look on the far left-hand corner on this matrix, you'll see that we fall fewer than 200, again, which is a good place to be. And then the two key pieces of criteria that are now being emphasized is, number one, the COVID hospital admissions. For Buncombe County, that is 1 per 100,000. And so as you look in that level underneath the green low, you'll see that anything below 10 maintains a low status. So for that particular criteria, 1, we're low. And the second criteria, which is the percent of staffed inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients, you can see that for us again, we're at 2.1% in Buncombe County, again below that 10% that's held as the standard. So again, good news that in both of those key pieces of criteria, we fall in the level of low. And it wasn't too long ago that everything fell into the high category, didn't it? And I think this board responded to that in terms of the decisions made for face mask along with other responses that we had to deal with COVID. Now, keeping that in mind, and I know we had a request, let's look a little bit deeper with it. As we looked at it in terms of, okay, let's try to set, just as we did previously with putting together a matrix as a cautionary, here's what happens when this occurs, our feeling was, let's don't reinvent the wheel. We already have a new matrix and standards set up by the state. So what you see on this slide is essentially recognizing that that exists and fitting it with more detail than what we brought with you the last month. I think, Ms. Churchill, I believe you asked for this, so this was our attempt at that. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and read this because for the public, trying to read that slide may be difficult. As a benchmark only, and subject to consideration of all relevant factors, the Board of Education would consider a change in face covering protocol in consultation with our local Buncombe County Department of Health and Human Services if the following local metrics were realized. Number one, the number of student and staff positive cases and quarantines significantly increased over the 14 successive day time period. That's very similar to what we had in place prior. It was worded a bit differently, but that was the metric, one of the metrics that we set up as our guide, if you recall. And then on the note, tightened face covering requirements could be issued based on a significant increase in student and staff positive cases and quarantines specific to a school district, or the entire school system. We wanted to put that in place to address an issue where we might have just a serious outbreak in a certain area of our school community that may just impact a certain classroom in a school, a grade level, the school itself, or it may impact the entire district or across the entire county. So we wanted to put that in place. Secondly, using the CDC COVID-19 community level guidelines, and again, that was the schematic that I showed you in the previous slide, amend the current mask optional requirements if the new cases rise to 200 or more. Again, that was the guideline that we just saw. 200 or more per 100,000, and the community level rises to high in both of the following 7-day averages for, again, those two key criteria, the new COVID-19 admissions per 100,000. Previous slide I gave you Buncombe County's And number 2, the percent of staffed inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients. Again, we provided you the local data, Buncombe County data, and in both cases, those fall well below the levels to indicate high. Plans will be kept in place for district-wide administrative support of schools in times of increased COVID-19 spread. It would be incredibly exhilarating on my part to be able to say, we're going to now retire all of these slides. And this is the last time that you will see that. But I think what we have learned in a new era of change is that we need to continue to be prepared. The good news from my standpoint, the battles that we fought over the past year and a half have prepared us, I think, to be better prepared for future battles that I do believe we will incur, hopefully later than sooner. But with that was an attempt to try to address what you asked for with more detail in terms of what if. Here's our guidelines for that. And so
I'd like
with
to say
that,
I appreciate that very much.
with that in place, again, our recommendation from the district to you is that we maintain the mask optional face covering guidelines as approved by the Board of Education on March 3rd, 2022. And this would go into effect for the entire month of April minus the week of spring break, because I don't think any of us will be worried about that next week. But if you do, I understand that as well.
Motion to accept this recommendation?
May I ask a question first?
Of course.
Thank you. So does this recommendation then include these new metrics, or do we not need to vote on the metrics?
If you want to adopt the metrics, you would need to vote on it. I took, I'll let him speak for himself, but I took the recommendation just to be on the face cover.
Okay, so that would be a separate motion if we wanted to vote on the metrics. Okay.
Or you could roll it all into one if you'd like.
My motion would be that we approve both this recommendation to maintain the mask optional face covering guidelines and also include the recommended metrics as well.
Does she have a second?
Second.
Second that.
Okay. Then I guess it's time to all those in. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Am I cutting somebody off? All right, then that passes. Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. At this time, on the consent agenda, we have the minutes for February 22, 2022, special call meeting, open session, the minutes for March 3rd, 2022, regular meeting, open session, the personnel report, Emma Elementary School's request to change banking institution, the policies for second reading. Policy 1510, 4200, and 7270, school safety. Policy 2302, remote participation in board meetings. Policy 5020, visitors to the schools. Policy 5022, registered sex offenders. Policy 5210, distribution and display of non-school materials. Policy 6305, safety and student transportation services. And Policy 6340, transportation services for vehicle contracts. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second? I got it. All those in favor?
Aye.
On the information agenda, we have financial reports and policies for first reading. And our next meeting will be May the 5th. We will begin at 12 o'clock noon in the Minitorium for a special called work session for capital outlay. Is that correct?
And our local operating budget.
Local operating budget. And then our next regular board meeting will be May the 5th, and that's our regular meeting. We'll be in the Bowcatcher room. All right, thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are